I think you know the baked sandwiches we're making, the kind that have butter put on top. They're really good melty cheese. We're gonna dress this up a little bit for the holidays, and we're gonna make a chicken meatball, and we're gonna have a cranberry sauce to go with it, which to me makes it seasonal, but also just really delicious and layers of flavor. Starting with the chicken meatballs is ground chicken. Now you can use ground turkey too. What I like is ground chicken is a light meat, but it also takes on a lot of flavor well, and you can make them really good even though it's lean. So with that, we're gonna put some breadcrumbs. I use a panko breadcrumb. And it's kind of just gonna make sure we have some good flavor, but we also wanna make sure we have good moisture and kind of a richness to them. And for that, I use mascarpone cheese. So if you don't use this, oftentimes it's used in tiramisu, which around the holidays I love to make. But it also can kind of dress these up and add a little bit of a richness to them that I really like. So it's soft enough that you can mix it in really well, and that's what we're gonna do, and it just adds a nice richness and a little bit of a flavor. Some Italian seasoning just to make sure there's good flavor, dried Italian seasoning, which is a pantry staple, and some garlic powder. Again, instead of raw garlic, which doesn't sometimes cook through, because these meatballs cook very quickly, garlic powder is gonna impart that flavor. And of course some salt. You need some good salt because that's gonna balance everything, but also bring out the flavor of everything. Then you wanna mix this really well, because you wanna make sure that mascarpone really gets, but see how easy that is to mix in? It's so soft, and if you haven't used it in this way, you could use a ricotta cheese instead if you have that in your fridge, but believe me, if you can find this, I think you're gonna wanna try it. The key is to mix well. They really do mix together quickly. You know, these can be a great weeknight meatball too. You can serve them with a salad, a soup, anything. But what I'm gonna do now just to make it easy is use a scoop, a cookie scoop, and just make meatballs. Now I'm making enough for however many sandwiches I'm doing, which I'm doing 15 sandwiches. That's what fits in a 9x13 pan. Oddly, I feel like they should make 12 of them fit in a 9x13 pan because you buy them in amounts of 12. But I take 3 from another package, and then usually during the holidays, I'm making multiple of these, so that's how it works. And what we're gonna do is just scoop that many meatballs, which if I need to in the end, you could weigh these out, but you could also just eye it, and if you need to, adjust. Putting the last one right on, and then I like to flatten them just slightly. Water, I think, makes that a little bit easier. More just so when you know, I don't like when you have a meatball sandwich and you eat the thing and it's just this massive ball in the middle of a sandwich. I like them to be a little flatter. They're not a chicken patty, but if you have a wet finger, do you see how it doesn't stick to them? And you can just slightly round them out better. That's what I like to do to make sure. So now we're gonna put these right into the oven. We're gonna let them roast in the oven. It doesn't take that long. And in that time, we're gonna get the sandwiches ready so we can bake them in no time. Think holiday appetizer, think special kind of little bite. That's what these are. And by the way, they're gonna go fast. We're gonna make our butter that we're gonna put on top. It melts into the sandwiches, it makes them very good, it makes them actually delectable and kind of iconic. So I'm gonna put whole grain mustard with it. This is a traditional thing to put butter on top, but I'm gonna change it up a bit with some whole grain mustard. I like the texture, I like that little bit of flavor. It's not near as astringent though. And I'm gonna put some honey, so a little bit of sweetness. So think of how we're playing with this interesting, sweet, tangy, kind of savory notes, since we're gonna use cranberry sauce and everything else too. And then a little bit of Worcestershire. This is just going to add that depth of flavor that kind of is there, but you don't always know what it is. It's this, and it's really good. So I'm gonna turn on and just let this kind of melt together slowly on some low heat over here, so it kind of comes together. And we're gonna get ready our buns, which are just sweet rolls, meaning they do have a sweetness to them. So that's again, that play on sweet. Now, if you're not comfortable just taking through the whole kind of run of this and slicing them, which it can be something tricky if you're not used to it, don't feel bad. We can also just take them apart one by one or go in rows and we're just slicing them down, right down the middle. And what this is doing is cutting them right in half. And you're gonna see why, because what we're gonna do is take our top and we're just gonna stick it right beside it on both of them. And then all these just fit down in here. And do you see what I mean? A 9x13 fits 3 more. So I like to do that. I like to fill it up. I don't like the whole randomness of not. So I'm putting those all together. So the first layer, think of layering flavors, think of layering just goodness, is some Dijon mustard. And this is gonna add that undertone that most of the sandwiches do have. You know, the traditional ones are like a Black Forest ham, maybe a Swiss cheese. In my neck of the woods, Iowa, we call those original ones funeral sandwiches, because oftentimes, back in the day, they were served at funerals because you could make quite a few of them, feed a crowd, and they were really good. And then I think they slowly morphed into more of like a tailgating and kind of just anytime you're getting together with people. Now you can see what I did was layer on just that quick dose of Dijon mustard. And that's just gonna sit there as that base layer of flavor. I do like to make sure I get it all the way to the edges so you can really make sure you have that flavor. And then I'm gonna take some cranberry sauce. Now this could be left over from the holidays. Maybe you still make it for Christmas. Personally, I would always use a homemade. You can use canned cranberry sauce. But I think the homemade, what's good about it, it has a little bit more flavor. It has, see how you still have some pieces of cranberry? Personally, I love that. And at first I just kind of dollop it on in sections like this, and then I just start spreading it around. So don't worry about this one being perfect. It's more just, look how they look festive already. These are the holiday edition of your favorite sandwich. So I'm gonna finish spreading this. We're gonna shred cheese, and then when those meatballs are done, we'll pop them on, put this all together, and guys, it's pretty exciting in here, let me tell you. I'm just finishing up shredding my cheese. I like to shred the cheese. I don't like to buy pre-shredded. I think sometimes it has that coating on it, and I don't really like that. And I think it just tastes better. So this is a nice sharp cheddar. I like a really flavorful cheddar, and I think that's really good. So we have kind of everything done. My butter has been melting, and it is now fully melted and put together. It smells really good in here. Now you can assemble these a little bit ahead of time if you want to. Don't feel bad doing that, even a couple hours ahead, and then pop them in the oven. But what we're gonna do is put a meat, see how they're kind of flattened? They are a meatball, and I know some people might say, that's not a meatball. It is. You can call it whatever you want. And who likes to eat a meatball sandwich? They just don't make sense when they're so round and you can't even really eat it. This way you can eat them and enjoy them, and look how they look perfect. Now, the bottoms get a little bit more brown, so I like to turn them over because I think that's pretty. And then we're gonna put them right on top. Look at this, is this not fun? Is this not festive? We're gonna take the shredded cheese. It's the holidays, so we're gonna really, you know, we're gonna go on our diets in January, or not. And we're gonna put the cheese over everything. So in the oven, what's gonna happen is this is going to just melt together. It's gonna get gooey inside. You're gonna get those sweet, savory notes from that jam, the mustard. Usually the butter we put on top, we're just gonna put the caps back on. It would have poppy seeds in it traditionally. Ours has that whole grain mustard, which I like, because I think it adds some nice texture to the top. So do you see how I am trying to make sure, guys, I'm gonna be honest, this little copper dish, as pretty as it is, the handle gets hot. So if you're wondering, you might need to remember that with what you're doing. Now I am taking a little bit of time just to make sure my butter is actually coating each one, because I think, you know, the whole point here is to get that flavor, and then it gets toasty in the oven. And some of it is gonna fall down. That's what we want. We want it to fall in the cracks and the crevices. We want it to go down the sides of them. But do you see how that beautiful whole grain mustard kind of sits on top? That's what we want, because it looks festive. It looks like, this is what the point of these sandwiches are. They look like you kind of went to some work, and guess what? You didn't. Now at the end, I am just gonna pour the rest on. I did mention these were healthy sandwiches, right? I think we need to always make sure we know that. So we're gonna pour this on. We're gonna pop these in the oven. We're gonna let it get melty, delicious, and let that butter really soak in. Then we're gonna eat them. These baked until they were golden. Do you see how they just get a little crisp on top? It's still very soft. And now you can just either cut them up, you can do whatever you want. You know, these are the perfect to me party food, and that's the kind of time of year we are in. Look at this. You get that melty cheese. They're decadent in like a really good way. And look at that meat. It's not a full meatball, but it's kind of the perfect thing to eat. They're so good. I love the mixture of sweet, savory. You're getting it with the meatball. You get that cranberry, the cheese, and the mustard, everything just, this is so good. What more could you want than a decadent, delicious bite of a sandwich? Which, okay, yeah, it's like 4 bites, but still, it's perfect for a party. Are you having appetizers? Are you having cocktails? Are you having a little potluck where you want to take something fun? This is gonna make everyone say ooh and ah and grab them and want the recipe. And guess what? The recipe's so easy. It can be your little secret if you want it to be. So share this recipe around so other people can make it too, because good food is meant to share. Check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe and all my others to get you ready and enjoy the holidays. That's what this is all about. Merry Christmas.